Well, a very good day and welcome to the Elora Fergus Podcast. I'm Ryan Joyce.
And I'm Barb Boy.
And today we have something special, something unique for those that also, like myself, love some history. This is, Barb, we were talking before we all jumped on the call here about those heritage minutes they used to have on Canadian television. And that's where the infamous, Doctor, I smelled burnt toast. If you remember that.
Pat Mestern needed to be dictating those Canadian moments. Imagine what we could have learned.
Absolutely. And we are greeted here with the one and only Pat Mestern, who is a local historian who knows endless knowledge and wisdom and history of our incredible community. Welcome, Pat.
Hello. Thanks.
And well, so today we thought it would be a good conversation. Well, what do you want to start with, Barb? What are you thinking?
You know, I think first of all, I'd love Pat to tell the world who she is, because I mean, Pat, we know that everybody here knows who you are, but just a quick wrap up about who you are and what you bring to us. And then, I don't know, I think we're going to have Pat on a few times in the next several months. How about if we start with Dr. Groves, because he's pretty infamous in these parts.
Good choice.
Dr. Groves, yes.
So who are you first?
I am Pat Mestern, born in Fergus 84 plus years ago, and was told I was supposed to be a local historian by my grandmother, my mother, my father, about age 4 or 5 maybe. So that's what I am, I hope.
Oh, isn't that interesting? So you got into this because your family thought you should?
Yes. I was interested in a lot of things, and history maybe wasn't one of them, but I was introduced to an elderly gentleman actually from the Six Nations that Dad used to drive around to the various caves and everything. And that gentleman too decided that there had to be somebody who remembered local history. So guess who?
Is this something you journal about, or you do you journal your knowledge? You obviously read a lot. How do you archive all this knowledge?
It is actually was put into a lot of it was put into 2 books in 1983, and I do try to tell as much of it as possible. And but I don't think I'll do any more writing of it. I just have other things to do.
Well, aren't we lucky that you get to not write, but you get to talk about it today here on the Elora Fergus Podcast?
And before we dive into Dr. Groves, I just out of general curiosity, Pat, can you go back to your childhood? What did Fergus look like? What? There was no McDonald's there. What?
Totally different. There was nothing on the south side of Bellside, Elora Street. There was nothing very much north of Forfar Street. Only farmland. Nothing on the west side of Garifraxis Street. A huge, big. It wasn't even a pond. It was a beaver meadow. Nothing on the east side of Garifraxis Street, and nothing to the east on St. Andrew Street. Just the main street.
Although I know Anna's house is up there, or Anna, what is it called?
Anna's house is actually on St. Andrew Street, right next to the old mill.
Right. Amazing. Okay. Well, we want to hear what you have to tell us. What do you think the Elora Fergus podcast listeners might want to know about Dr. Groves?
Dr. Groves was a very interesting person indeed. After he finished his time in Toronto, it was 6 months with a doctor down there. He decided to come back to practice in Fergus. He was the first person to buy a ticket for the first passenger train to arrive in Fergus, 1874. And he started immediately to do doctoring. Of course, there was no hospital, so he had to use a horse and buggy to get around. He didn't drive a horse and buggy himself. He had drivers. Grandmother knew him very well, and she said he was actually a little bit frightened of driving a horse around, and he didn't like to climb on a horse either. So his last driver was quite the character, Archie Anderson. Anyway, after he got to Fergus, he got busy right away. The first thing that he did was he was in Guelph, 1879. He actually removed gallstones from a fellow on a table in a tavern, the north end of Guelph. Then he had the opportunity to do the first appendectomy in North America on a table just outside of Fergus. He used to wash his hands and make sure everything was washed. He was the first doctor to really realize that that had to be done. He tried to use gloves at one time, grandmother told me, leather gloves, but that didn't quite work out. He started his, he actually bought the house that belonged to James Webster at the end of Queen Street, and opened his hospital in 1902. He had to close it in 1932. But before that, he actually had a mill where the brew house is in Fergus now. And he actually produced electricity in that mill after he stopped doing flour. He was just a most interesting man. Grandmother said he was just so quick at everything. She said he had a mind that was just amazing. He actually was the doctor for the poorhouse. And of course, that's where he got most of his skeletons, bodies for research.
Let's go there for a second, Pat, because that's fascinating. And I don't know that Ryan knows a lot about this, only because we had this conversation walking through near the cemetery the other day. I went because I went to the tour at the museum several years ago where they walked us through the story of Dr. Groves and the body snatching and cemeteries. Can you just tell, I mean, Halloween's behind us now, but can you, this is the most Halloween town in Ontario. Can you tell us a little bit about this story?
Well, Dr. Groves, he wanted to actually do more in Toronto, but he couldn't. The hospital was closed down there, so he came back to Fergus, but he had a lot to learn about bodies. The only way you could get bodies was to buy them, sometimes, steal them, other times.
Those were bodies that were dead already. Let's just
dead bodies, yes.
Right.
And so he made sure that he was the doctor out at the, after 1877, out at the poorhouse, simply because when the people died there, they didn't have anybody. So there were bodies that he could do autopsies on and etc. When I worked out there, his autopsy table was actually still there, which was rather interesting to say the least. And I mean, that's how he found out various things that were wrong with the human body and what he could possibly do about it. And I know people are really upset by that, but all the doctors did that. At least all the doctors who wanted to progress some medical news, information, anything that they could do to help people. And Groves was a person who really wanted to help people.
This sounds like a Netflix special.
Yes. Well, he didn't say he stole them. He didn't. But the thing is that one body was actually taken from Bellside Cemetery, and people saw his vehicle in Toronto. It was a very interesting wagon, and they knew whose it was, and they saw it come back to Fergus. They saw it leave Fergus, come back to Fergus with something on it. And he had to give the body back.
This is like the Ed Gein story. My goodness.
Yes. Not very many people know that, but he, as I said, he was a very good friend of grandmother's, and he told her a lot of things.
So how old would he have been when your grandmother knew him?
He died in 1935, 87. Grandmother was 18 when she married in 1903, and he was her doctor. So there was quite an age difference there. But he actually felt a lot of sympathy for women who were in a way that were being, I don't want to say used, but grandfather Charlie, as he had quite a few injuries to himself, and one of them was a head injury, and it really changed him a great deal. He got really nasty and everything, and Groves was he just wanted to be sure that when things like that happened, he could be there for the person. And most of the people were women, of course. And so there was a great age difference. But she was a good friend with he and his first wife and his second wife.
Wow.
And do you have any kids?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, he did. One of them became a doctor, but unfortunately, he actually committed suicide. And nobody knows why.
Here in town, Pat?
Yes. Yes.
Well, we never hear about the Grove's son.
No. And there will be people that'll listen to this and say, boy, is she ever a liar? But no, he had a son. And
Wow.
yeah.
Nobody's going to call Pat Mestern a liar.
Oh, you know. But yeah, it was really unfortunate. It really was. Because they just didn't know why.
Wow.
Yeah, he also had a pet alligator and a pet parrot. A pet parrot had ended up in a freezer, which ended up in the museum. The alligator ended up in the river, and nobody knows what happened to it after that.
Okay, so our listeners can't see the faces, but you should see Ryan's face.
Oh, that's so fun.
Gobsmacked.
Well, he used to go to Florida to spend some time away. I mean, you know, as he got a lot older, he needed time away. So his place was Florida, and somebody gifted him a parrot, which he brought back. Then somebody gifted him an alligator, which he brought back. He left the alligator in his barn. Now, his barn was where St. James Anglican Church is now. And, you know, he would, just to have a bit of fun, he would invite people to go to see the horse in the barn. But it wasn't really a horse that he wanted them to see. And the alligator got away. It literally got away one summer day. Archie Anderson. You know, he tried to find again. Archie drove Groves around, and they couldn't find it, and they figured it went to the river and just disappeared. But they warned everybody. All the fishermen in the river, they warned them.
And then the next day, and for the next 6 months, fishermen kept disappearing unknowingly.
Yeah. It's turned into the Loch Ness Monster, Center Wellington's Loch Ness Monster, or Ogopogo.
I'll just say that Dad did not go fishing that summer.
That's funny. Well, you know, I think one of the great things, Ryan, that we're doing is that we're going to have Pat on as a guest every few months or so to tell a different story about Elora and Fergus. We've got a couple that we're doing over the next few months, and then I think we'll keep it going, because who better to tell stories for Elora Fergus Podcast than the Elora Fergus historian?
Pat, thank you so much for your time. That was amazing storytelling for a wonderful piece of our heritage. Thank you, Pat.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Pat, so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.